perception that it was done in bad faith and that the institution of the central bank's office can then be interfered with by perhaps any president who doesn't like what is going on. You just find something and you let the man go.
Thank you very much, Emily. That's agreed. I mean, there's so many things that Sanusi has done. And I think Sanusi has helped this country one way or the other with the power that he has exercised with the CBN Act. The framers of the CBN Act, and I was fortunate to be one of those people at that time consulting for National Assembly when it came. What we wanted was a situation where the CBN would be immune from all the politics that was played. And that is what the power they have. But you do remember, too, that the same Sanusi went to the National Assembly and said to them, well, there's nothing anybody can do. This is the power that you have given me, and it's not to be taken. Sanusi threw it at the people who had done it. But what we need to do is, when this is challenged, then people will know that at least there's a limit to where the power it is. CBN has so much autonomy. But like I said in Nigeria, there are no institutions. They wanted to give the institution an autonomy, but not an individual. Anytime we have a very strong individual in this country, they tend to take it over. The same kind of power that CBN has is what FIRS has. And when Ifueko was there, it wasn't used this way. If the National Assembly invites her, she goes. Every time the CBN governor creates one crisis or the other that you don't even want to understand why he's doing that, forgetting that he's in charge of the monetary policy. The CBN governor can wake up at any time and says that he's going to create an intervention fund. He doesn't care how that is going to be done. The CBN governor will come and create whatever he wants to create, puts people on the board, and nobody is answerable to anybody. The House of Reps is doing investigation on the PAF. That is the Power and Airline Intervention Fund, which is about 300 billion. From what we heard from that public hearing, most of this money had gone into consultants' pockets, it's gone into lawyers' pockets and all that. It's not really getting to where it is. And all these things are done because the CBN governor has so much power and so much money at his disposal. We just need to challenge this. I will be very glad if he goes ahead with the threat to challenge this in court. Let the court tell us if it's right for somebody to be so powerful that nobody in this country knows the budget that he runs. It doesn't make no sense at all. And are you aware, too, that out of the 163 billion that he has spent on the CSR thing, it's only 3 that went through the Bureau of Public Enterprise. And nobody has said anything because, I mean, we keep quiet here and feel that one individual can just do whatever he needs to do. I am talking as a financial person. We don't need all this crisis in the financial world. I mean, this same Sanusi came up at one time. I lost a lot of money in the capital market. And he says, I don't care what happens to the shareholders. I'm just going to look at the banks. If the depositors are looked after, then the investors, nothing happens to them. I invested in those banks. Without my investment, there will be no bank. And he's saying that it's because of the license. He hasn't done us any good, but he's done us more bad. But you don't take everything away from him. There's some policies that are very good, but no matter how good your policy is, you need to consult with people before you come out with decisions on whatever you want to do.
Suggesting that, you know, the CBN governor, the former CBN governor now, ran a one-man show. It was saying that, you know, internal checks, he had about 3 different deputies. He also had a board, you know, manning what was supposed to be going on within the CBN. Are you saying that he was even more powerful than all these other, you know, checks that should have kept him in check?
Well, I think that, yes, I think, like you said, thank you very much, Ope. What you have said is there's a board, but at the same time, the framers of the law too said that before the CBN governor and the board does some things, the president needs to be consulted. That is under Section 7, subsection 5 of the CBN Act. And what that has done is for you to have a second opinion about what you have done. But he doesn't do that. And we all know in this country that we all build individuals. One great thing that Sanusi has going for him is the ability to wipe up sentiments among the public. I mean, you talk, and we don't need that. You don't get Alan Greenspan during his time talking so much about what is going to happen. These are issues that needs to be done. at the time we had the global downturn in the world, if an Alan Greenspan has come out to say, oh, this is the reason why this had happened, this is what people have done, this is how people have stolen money, then the whole economy, world economy, would have gone crashing. There's a lot that has happened in this society by virtue of a pronouncement that the CBN governor makes, or the CRR policy that he's come with. He will just wake up one day and say, this is going to be done, and it will be done. It's so powerful that I honestly don't think, I would love to see the minutes of the board, I mean, the minutes of the board meetings. And I would like to see how he gets away with a lot of things that have happened. Because I was in Offa some time ago, and I saw that the secondary school is being renovated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And sometimes I wonder, I say, what do we need all this for? Is this what we need? There are young people out there who are looking for jobs to be created. Interest rate is still very high. We can't get the banks to come down, even though we bailed out the banks. Why do we bail out the banks? In Ireland, when the banks were bailed out, the government tells the bank what to do. Here, you have taken our money and you've given it to the bank, but we can't tell the bank to borrow young people. We can't tell the bank to borrow business people at a rate that is accepted to them. Now he's created AMCON, and I know that that's going to be another big tsunami, but I hope that the new CBN governor or the deputy governor who's looking at it, we need to look at the AMCON too, because AMCON is coming back now to look for an amendment to that bill. That means that there's something wrong. The amendment to the act, that means there's something wrong. But I do know clearly that the next tsunami is going to be AMCON if we don't do something about it as quick as we can. But I think it's stepping aside would open doors for a lot of new thinking in that society. But to answer your question directly, Mope, Sanusi was a very powerful person in the CBN. And honestly, I respect every member of the board, but I would like them to come out too and say that most of those decisions that he took, they took it with him in good faith and for the best of the country. So if Sanusi is indicted, the indictment will be on all of them too, because you can't single out Sanusi alone if everything was done with the board.
But let's look at the issue of timing. I mean, the crimes that he's alleged to have committed date back to 2011, spending monies that were now appropriated for writing of a 40 billion naira loan of a bank. Now, this began in 2011. This is 2014. Why did it take so long before the axe was wielded?
Well, the timing of it.
The office of the CBN governor is actually a very powerful office. It's not an office that you can just wake up and say that this is all you need to do. I think the government was taking their time to look at it, if some of these issues could be resolved, and if they can find that. And you have to understand too that in 2011, we couldn't touch, between 2009 and 2011, you can't create another problem. There's already the banking problem that Sanusi came up with, which I think is very good because of the recklessness of the bank executive at that time. What he actually came out to stop is what he started doing as well, which I find very unfortunate. But I honestly would not allow, I would not advise the government at that time to start looking at these issues. But I think when the whole thing started was when he submitted the audited account for 2012. 2012, that was when the government looked at the audited account and then now queried him on some of those areas of the things that he has done. So the issue of timing here is neither here nor there. I mean, it takes you a while before you can say to the CBN governor you've done something wrong, because you need to actually have all the facts before you can take a decision. I do think that the president now has all his facts together. That's when he's asked that he should be suspended and step aside actually for proper investigation to be done.
Is definitely going to matter here. A lot of people say that the timing is really inauspicious. How do you think that the government should deal with this particular hangover from their act?
I think that what we need to do, first of all, is let Sanusi go ahead and test the power that the act has given him in court. That's number one. But I do know too that the National Assembly is not very happy with the enormous power that the act has given to the CBN governor. So I'm sure that what we need to do is to put into motion the process of reviewing part of that act. If all we can achieve from it is that the CBN governor must bring his budget to the National Assembly every year for approval, I think we have done very well. Because part of it too is for us to know how much he's going to spend and how much comes to the CBN as a whole. I mean, this was an issue that at the time when just immediately after the National Assembly came into sitting, the CBN governor came up and said the National Assembly spends 25% of our overhead. I mean, because the budget is 150 billion, and that is the third arm of the government and all that. And then they asked for his own budget. He never showed it to nobody. The other thing that we need to do too is for us to be sure that whoever we make the CBN governor must sign some form of an undertaking that they do not become very political in whatever they do. I mean, it's recorded everywhere. And sometimes those of us in the financial circles get really worried. I mean, you get political party, people in opposition having a book launch and every other thing, and the CBN governor is there. At the point, the CBN governor was just everywhere. Whatever you do, it will be there to be the guest speaker, it will be there to be the lead speaker. And I feel that this is not the work of the CBN governor, not in a society where there's so much poverty, where business needs a lot of funding. We need to sit down and change a lot of things. It's very important for us to look at it in that angle, and we all need to sit up and say to ourselves, do we want a CBN whose governor will be so powerful that it will become an uproar in a society when the president says, I'm going to suspend him? What Sanusi was saying on TV yesterday, and which I heard this morning, which is very funny, is that you keep looking for 2/3 of the Senate. It's not that the president cannot get it, the president can get it. The same thing you're saying to me that, oh, the president never appointed me. What he did was recommended me to the Senate, and then the Senate actually confirmed and approved. The same process happens with the minister. And the president can sack or remove a minister or suspend a minister at any time. So what's the difference between the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the CBN governor? They go through the same process. But it does come back to say we need to be very careful how we use the power that the law gives to us. But there's a need, just like you said, Mope, that we looked at that act again and see that area of the act that we could amend so that there's going to be checks and balances here and there to help grow our economy.
Today, Tunji Awonusi is a financial analyst, and we've been looking at the suspension of the central bank governor, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi.